Find out how you can live the dream in Mazatlan, Mexico. Hola, amigos. Welcome to the Best of Mazatlan show. My name is Mark Glickman, and I'm your host and publisher of bestofmazatlan.com, the leading digital lifestyle brand of Mazatlan, Mexico. This show will feature entrepreneurs, leaders, local businesses, nonprofits, musicians, realtors, and other stories that showcase the best of Mazatlan, Mexico. I'm really happy to be with my guests, Kristen and Lionne Decker, owners of Mazatlan for Sale and Mazatlan for Rent. I have a ton of respect for them for moving to Mazatlan 15 years ago with their two children and starting their own real estate and property management business. You know, it's tough enough starting a business anywhere, but starting one in a foreign country has its own unique challenges. And if you think starting a business in a foreign country has its own unique challenges, try buying real estate in another country where the process is complicated and constantly changing. But thankfully, Kristen, Lionne, and the rest of the team at Mazatlan for Sale provide support, insight, and encouragement to help you every step of the way. Kristen was one of my early guests on the Best of Mazatlan show pre-pandemic. So when I decided to resurrect the show over Facebook Live, when tourism started back up again, I knew I had to bring her back because she's an awesome guest. She's a successful entrepreneur, and there's been a ton of action in the real estate industry since we last talked over 2 years ago. But this time she's back with my new guest, her husband and partner, Lionne Decker. And Lionne, I've never met you before, but I feel like we're soul brothers in that we've both now lived and worked in Hawaii and Mazatlan. So without further ado, welcome to the Best of Mazatlan show, Kristen and Lionne, and thanks so much for taking the time to join me today.
Thank you, Mark.
Cheers. Yeah.
You know, I'm going to start the show by turning it over to both of you to tell us a bit about yourselves, how you met, how you ended up moving to Mazatlan with your two children, and what motivated you to start your own business.
Oh boy.
Well, I guess you have to
Where to
start.
begin?
How we met.
Yeah, the how we met
Yeah.
story actually is it's a pretty cool one actually. I just posted it on when we had our anniversary. We just recently had our anniversary on July 3rd.
27 years.
Yep,
Yeah.
27 years.
Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you. So I was at the time working as a bank teller at First Interstate Bank in Vancouver, Washington, and I was new, and so I didn't really know a lot of the customers and stuff that would come and go from the bank. And one day I watched this guy, this handsome young guy, walk in, and he was wearing khaki pants, yellow polo shirt, and a brown leather jacket. And I was just like, wow, who is that guy? And it was just, I couldn't take my eyes off of him. And he walked up to one of the other tellers and did this transaction. And I'm like, I feel like I'm like stalking him, you know, like I'm just like watching this guy like the whole time. And he finishes his transaction and then he walks out to the bank towards the car. And the whole bank's like all windows. So I can watch him, you know, walk all the way out to the car. And he takes he's wearing the brown leather jacket, and he takes his collar and he like pulls it up over his neck like this as he turns the corner. And at that moment, I'm like, I'm going to marry that guy. And I literally had no idea like what his name was.
My first stalker.
Who this guy was. And so I started asking some of the girls at the bank that had been there longer, and I'm like, who is this guy? And they're like, oh, that's Lionne. His dad owns the restaurant across the street. And they were like, you should go over there and like just, you know, sit down in his section and have lunch. And so I did one day, and I went by myself and I sat down in his section, and I'm very shy. And I've gotten less shy over the years, but yeah. So at that time, you know, I thought I was kind of flirting and this and that, and I had no idea. Yeah, didn't really get.
I was clueless.
I didn't get anything from him. So
typical guy.
So I left. I went back to the bank, and the girls were like, oh my gosh, they're like, tell me, like what happened, and I'm like, I don't think he's interested. You know, maybe he's got a girlfriend. I mean, you know, I don't know. So they said, they said, well, just wait a couple days and try again. So I was like, okay, all right. So I waited a few days and I went back and I did it again and nothing. So I was like, oh, okay. So at this point, I'm convinced, like, he's not interested. He's got a girlfriend. And so I told the girls at the bank, I said, okay, I'm done. I'm not going to pursue this anymore. I'm done. And that night I was working drive-through in the back of the bank. So, and I'll let Lionne take it over from here.
Yeah. And I came in to do my banking like I normally do. And I'm just finishing up and I hear this voice, and it was Mary, who is the branch manager. And this woman, like, she commanded your respect. So she was like, Lionne. And I looked over and I was like, oh no, what did I do? I'm like, yeah, Mary. And she looked at me and she said, did you know that Kristen has a crush on you? And so I looked back at the tellers, and well, Kristen wasn't there. And I knew everybody. I'd been there for a couple of years. And I looked back at Mary and I was like, who's Kristen? And she's like, she's running drive-through today. And I was like, bing, bing, bing. Bells went off. So I went running back to the restaurant, and I later found that I left the restaurant unlocked, went back to drive-through, and I scraped up like everything I possibly could from the car. It was 63 cents. So I drive up to the drive-through, and I had to make this deposit of 63 cents. That deposit's been paying dividends ever since.
Wow. What a great story. I love that story.
And that's like a true story.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Wow. The 63-cent deposit
Yep.
changed your life.
63 cents.
Yeah. It's like buying Bitcoin 20 years ago.
Yeah, oh my God. That's the name of your next album, 63 cents. Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Wow, that's great. I love that story.
So that's
So now,
how we met.
Yeah.
okay. So now, how did you keep going? This is great.
Well, your family, it had to be like, when we first started coming to Mazatlan was almost 30 years ago, 28 years ago, because her family had bought a little house on the golf course here in El Cid.
Okay.
And so we started visiting shortly after we got married. And it was once a year for a week, free vacation, and on the same parallel as Hawaii. So the weather, the climate, everything was very similar to Hawaii for me. I fell in love immediately. And so we started coming a couple times a year. And it was 1 week, twice a year. And then it was 2 weeks. And then it was 2 weeks, twice a year. And finally, we took the kids out of school for a month. I was in between jobs, and we moved here with the kids, and we put them in Anglo Moderno for a month.
Because we kind of wanted to test the waters, just to see, how the kids would react, being in school down here, and how we would like it, and this and that. And it was scary at the time, because like I didn't speak Spanish, the kids didn't speak Spanish, and we're basically throwing them into an all Spanish school.
Yeah, we did this. I did the same thing with my wife. Our son went to an all Spanish Montessori school.
Yeah, well, the first week was tears. I don't understand anybody. Nobody likes me. And like the second and third week was less of that. They had some friends over. And then the final week was tears again. We don't want to leave. We love it here.
Yeah. And it was such an amazing experience that the kids had, like, just in that 1 month. All the kids like wrote goodbye letters, and we're going to miss you. Please don't go.
Nice.
And it was such a warm experience.
Very special.
And very special. Yeah.
It is.
And so when we went back to Washington State after that 1 month that we were here, we made a decision to put the kids into a Spanish immersion school.
Withdrew them from public schools. They went into a similar situation like you were saying. It was a Montessori school, but it was all done in Spanish. And our goal was to prepare for moving to Mazatlan. Shortly after that, we got a call from Kristen's mom, and she's like, we found your house. And so we bought the house sight unseen.
Wow.
And that's Well, that's where our office was when we first moved here.
Yeah.
Yeah. In the bedroom.
But we really, when we bought the place, we really, and we had the kids in Spanish immersion, and that we had them it was like a couple of years before we got back down here.
Yeah.
Right.
Wow.
So we had bought this place, and we knew we needed to fix it up, and
That was 15 years ago now.
yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
So yeah, and I remember the day like clearly, because we had the kids in Spanish immersion. They wanted you to like register them like in like February for the following year. So they always wanted you to pay for early registration.
Yep.
Right. And so
That was February 2008.
Yeah, I think
Wow.
so. Yeah. And so we were deciding, are we going to put them in for another year? And we had to make a decision by the next day. And I remember Lionne and I were sitting on the couch in the living room, and we opened up a bottle of wine, and we're sitting there, and we're like, if we don't do this,
We're just going
we're
to
just
talk
going to
about
talk about it for the rest of our
Mhm.
lives. And so that was the moment where we both just said, let's do this.
Yep.
And then we just put everything into motion to make it happen.
And we sold everything we had. We had an estate sale. We had a garage sale. We had a rummage sale, and then we had a trip to. I rented a U-Haul, and I took a trip to the Salvation Army and donated everything else that we had.
Yeah.
And if it didn't fit into the Jeep Cherokee that we had, it wasn't coming.
Nope.
So
So you drove to Mazatlan?
all the way down here. Yeah.
Oh my God, I love it.
Jeep Grand Cherokee. That was like just the most amazing, surreal trip. And when we got here, Kristen had already put into motion the Mazatlan for Rent website, because we had made an investment in Mazatlan, and we figured the only way we were going to have enough money to survive is if we were renting out our properties.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's where Mazatlan for Rent was born. It was really born in Kristen's head, and we hired a computer engineer to help us build the website, and really was just an idea at that point.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the only thing we really had at that point was our own home.
Mm-hmm.
And we had some curious neighbors up the street that would come down, and they were wanting to know who we were and what we were doing, and we kind of gave them our story. And because we used to do rentals in Washington State, but
Kristen did.
long-term rentals
Yeah.
before we moved here. And so everybody was like, really, our business just grew by word of mouth.
Yeah. The family was super supportive. Your dad, Nancy, Scott, Karen. We really couldn't have done it without their support. And in the end, that is what really helped propel us into the marketplace, because they gave us some of their properties to rent, and they heard that I spoke Spanish and that we were kind of handy, and so we were good at maintaining things. They saw some of the work that we did at our own place, and we started developing a core group of support people, maids, gardeners, various handymen, electricians, plumbers, and really started surrounding ourselves with who we thought were the very best people in the marketplace, from lawyers to accountants to notarios. I have 4 different carpenters that can do various types of quality of work. Like if you want something completely handmade and made to match a photo, we have people who can do that. This marketplace is so special. I just can't say enough about how we were received by the community, and so we're constantly trying to give that back and support as well those people who helped get us here. And to this day, we continue to add different levels of competency to our armory, if you will, and that armory is based on the Mazatlecos. Yeah.
They're such warm, wonderful people, and I worked there when I first worked there. It was 25 years ago, and then I went back for Tianguis when it was back in Mazatlan, and it was like I never left. I'm still like so close to people that worked with me and that I was friends with, and we've stayed in touch over the last 25 years. And I was going back and forth to Mazatlan consulting on a project, and it's so great. It's such a warm place, and people are so special that it's just love it.
I totally agree. People here, that's one thing we love. One of the most things we love is that the people are just so friendly and warm, and
Absolutely. So now, how did you go? So you had the concept for Mazatlan for Rent. How did it evolve into Mazatlan for Sale and Mazatlan for Rent? Although it's a great pipeline from rent to sale.
Yeah, that's another story, because we had this was maybe 6 years ago. Six years ago we had bought another property up in Washington State. We wanted to have a residency up there, and like an Airbnb rental. So
a home base, close to my family.
Yeah, close to his family, but also, we wanted it to generate income when we're not there.
Right.
And then still give us the freedom to go and stay up there to visit his family.
Yeah. Well, that was with the kids too, because we needed a residency in Washington in order for the kids to be applicable for the discounts for the college. And so that was our plan, is to buy a Washington residence so that the kids could have a discount for the college.
Yeah, I got you. Makes sense.
And so it was kind of this family planning, life goal change for us. And so I remember it clearly. My son had just fallen off the staircase after painting, and he had all this paint all over him, and he was wearing like a leather jacket, and he had paint everywhere. He completely destroyed himself. And it's like something you couldn't even make up in a movie. And so we were kind of laughing, and he was obviously not happy about the whole situation.
Right. Yeah.
He was totally fine, by the way.
Yeah. And all along in every remodel and everything that we've been involved in, her mom, who is the jack of all trades.
Oh my gosh.
There isn't anything this woman can't do.
No,
Wow.
my mom, she can like do plumbing, electrical.
Wow, good for her.
Like, I mean, tiling, flooring, there literally is not anything she can't do. And then when she moved to Mazatlan, now she's like refurbishing golf carts.
Yes, it's like
Oh
Pimp
my
My
God.
Ride golf carts. Yeah.
Oh my God. That's
Building
too
it from
funny.
She's absolutely an amazing lady.
Wow, that's cool.
So
Yeah,
anyway, here we are, like just at the end of the day, and at that time it was a happy hour, and her drink of choice is tequila, of course. And she looked at us both and she said,
Good choice.
Why aren't you selling property? What is keeping you from selling property?
Yeah, that's what it was. She basically, just looked at us both, and she's like, "What are you doing? You
Right.
can do this."
Yeah.
And so, when we finished our project that we were finishing putting our place together in Washington, we came back to Mazatlan, and we did it.
Yeah.
We basically, because at that time we still had our office in our garage space at home.
Yeah.
And it was, tiny little space, and we were kind of growing out of it. And we decided to, when we got back, we leased a space right in the Golden Zone across from the Holiday Inn, which is a pretty big deal for us. Because we went from a tiny, tiny little garage space to this, big commercial space on the corner of Boca del Mar and Playa Gaviotas and the Golden Zone.
At that time, everything here was abandoned. There was like no Camino al Mar. There was no 180 towers being built.
No.
Right.
It was pretty rough.
Right.
And this is also something really important too, is we brought this prospect to our key managers. And we told them what we were going to do, and we offered them an opportunity to help support it. So at that point, we had Noemi, Lori, Bernardo, and Bernardo's mom, Lisa. And we made this presentation to them about opening up the brokerage, and offered them an opportunity to be a part of it. And so everybody chipped in. Everyone put monthly payments to add for their shares, and we had a plan for 2 years to basically pay off a certain amount so that they had bought their shares in the corporation. So
Great.
not only is it us, but our staff, who are socios, if you will.
That's nice. So they're all invested in it together, and that's terrific.
Correct.
Yeah, that's great.
And those are the people that help get us here.
Right.
And continue to help support, organize, and drive this business how she sees fit. But
we make a good team.
Yeah, no, you guys do.
But
No, that's great. Well, thanks. Yeah. Thanks for sharing that story, Kristen and Lionne. That's terrific. If you're watching this live, everybody, please like and share this show and send in your questions to Kristen and Lionne. And to send in your questions, you need to go to streamyard.com/Facebook and give them permission. If you're watching this show later, still send in your questions and try to get them answered to you. There's going to be an archive version of the show on the Best of Mazatlan Facebook page and the Best of Mazatlan YouTube page. You can listen to it at bestofmazatlan.com. So now people must be stressed out when they come in to see you because they're worried about real estate in Mexico, which I'm guessing is probably because they don't really understand the process. Do you do a lot of that, and how do you turn around that perception when people come in with that?
Yeah, that's definitely a big question from, with a lot of our clients, because the buying process, the buying and the selling process here in Mexico in general is so much different than in US and Canada.
it is.
Right.
And so, there's a little bit of fear and of the unknown.
Right.
And so, when what we do is we try to educate our clients, with, an outline of the process.
Correct.
Whether it's the selling process to make sure that they're prepared for their exit strategy or the buying process. It's just, so, I mean, in a way, we act almost as consultants as well. When it comes to that, because I think it's important for them to understand the entire process.
We've also pride ourselves on that planning that's necessary. We've lost opportunities with clients because we've basically told them that they're not prepared to sell. A lot of people don't understand the rules and regulations and how they're going to be taxed in a sale, or what the acquisition costs are when purchasing a property. And so when you have the opportunity to outline that for people and surround them with who I feel are some of the best in the business to help support them through the process, then you earn something which for us, it could take years, but it's trust. And in the end, when you trust someone with, what could be a lifelong savings in order to purchase a home in Mexico, if you go wrong with that, there's a huge responsibility in your hands.
Right.
So we really take it seriously, and how we manage that really has a lot to do with who we surround our clients with, which notarios, which accountants, and when it comes to fixing up property, the right contractors that aren't going to, rip them off. Trust is a huge piece, and
Absolutely.
education, which we continue to to strive to learn and teach and develop not only our staff, but ourselves so that we can share that with our clients.
Terrific. Kristen, how's the real estate market changed since we last spoke 2 years ago, pre-pandemic to now? Because it's, yeah.
It was, I tell you, it was pretty scary actually when the pandemic hit, especially with our rental business. We were, there was a brief moment where we thought, I don't know if we're going to make it.
No, applied for every loan we possibly could get. I knew what was coming.
Right.
We had almost a year's worth of reservations cancel in a couple of weeks worth of time.
Wow.
And government mandated shutting of doors. You weren't allowed to have traffic, so the gallery that we have here was completely eliminated from existence.
Yeah, but what surprised us really is the real estate market, and the real estate market, and also even the rental market. What did do well, surprisingly, during the whole pandemic was the private homes and the larger private homes, because people didn't want to go to hotels
right.
and share the common area spaces like the elevator,
because everyone was scared.
Yeah, and so they wanted to get out and away from home or wherever, but they felt safer doing it in an environment where they were with people that they knew.
Yeah.
Right.
And so surprisingly, that part of the rental business did extremely well. And then the real estate market just went off the charts. Like it's literally been nothing like I've ever seen in the 15 years.
It's like everybody who was sitting on the fence wondering whether or not they should invest in Mexico or they should live in Mexico, like they fell over the fence and were tripping over themselves to finally say, you know what, life is too short. I'm going to live my dream because I don't know what's going to happen tomorrow.
Well, the baby boomers, for one, there are like 90 million of them between the U.S. and Canada. And so, yeah, like Lionne's saying, a few of them were they were there on the fence. And so the whole pandemic just kind of like accelerated things for them. And so, they're selling their places up north, and then they're deciding to move down here where it's much cheaper, cost of living for their pensions and what have you. And then on top of that, which is another aspect of the real estate market that I've also been noticing, is that now there's the millennials. There's more younger generation that can work remotely now.
Mm-hmm.
So they're coming down for staycations, staying, renting properties, but then they're also like coming here to live because they can work anywhere in the world.
Well, and the cost of living here is fantastic. The services, the medical, the food, the culture here is, it's so much more.
Right.
In Hawaii, we used to have this saying called the Kama'aina spirit, right? Which is,
know it well.
In Mexico, it's casa is su casa.
Right.
And the people here are so warm and loving. I don't know why we don't have more. I mean, honestly, it's an undiscovered treasure.
Yeah, without a doubt.
Yeah,
absolutely. Before we go on, I just want to say Cindy Leeser Meyer is watching from Camas, Washington.
Okay.
I don't know.
Hi, Cindy.
Hi. Actually, I grew up in Camas.
So, based on what you just said, what has that done to the inventory in Mazatlan, given the last couple of years?
Made it very difficult.
Like it's, there's been like instances where, a property comes online and it's sold within just a couple days or a week. And it's just full price offers. There's even been a couple overpriced offers.
Wow.
It's like I said, it was like nothing I've ever seen before.
Yeah. A lot of investment in an increased density. You're seeing the max and of stories put into buildings. That most of the buildings that are large corner lots are being turned into 4-story apartment complexes, really increasing the density. The restoration of the historical district, the improvements along the Malecon,
Yes, terrific.
The increased focus on spots within the Golden Zone where they've retiled and re-cemented and put in new drains and water lines. In many cases, every single property had new water lines brought to their.
Wow, that's fantastic.
It's really a nice investment in infrastructure, and it's going to be needed in order to continue to support this growth.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's the mistake a lot of destinations make is they get too big and don't have the infrastructure. But
those services need to be focused on.
Yeah, it was so nice to see, getting ready for Tianguis, the improvements that were finally being made to Mazatlan, and they are fantastic. I mean, just the Malecon, the city streets, Centro. I mean, everything is it's just been terrific. Where do you guys see the market coming from? Is it coming from the U.S., Canada? I know the Mexican markets, it kind of exploded, but where do you see the market coming from right now?
Everywhere, honestly.
We have a strong following of Canadians. You can stretch your dollar here in Mazatlan much more so than you can in Cabo or Puerto Vallarta or Cancun. These are, multi-million dollar investments, whereas here it's only hundreds of thousands of dollars. So we have a very, very big Canadian following. You've got many direct flights straight into Mazatlan from Canada. We see well over 50% of all of our buyers Canadian, and then maybe 30% to 40%, depending on what time of year it is, of Americans, and the rest are nationals, many of which are dual citizens. You see a lot of that from Los Angeles.
But you also see the nationals coming in from like Mexico City, from Guadalajara, from Durango, especially now that they've got the new highway.
Yes,
that's cut the drive down in half.
Yeah,
it's half the drive.
Yeah,
It used to be like 6 hours. Now it's 3 hours to Durango.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
Yeah,
it's really
tunnels. There's 80 tunnels. I counted them once.
80 tunnels.
80 tunnels. 80 tunnels between here and Durango. I couldn't believe it.
Oh my God!
It's a spectacular drive. If you ever get a chance to do it,
I want to do it.
Canyon. So beautiful.
Yeah. That the bridge across is so dramatic. Yeah. Don't look down. Don't look down.
In Latin America.
I think so.
Yeah. It's crazy.
An engineering feat.
So is one neighborhood in more demand than the other, or is it pretty much?
Depends. It really depends on the client. It's they're definitely like popular areas, but it really depends on the client, because some clients really like the Centro Historico area where they can walk
everything
everywhere. They don't necessarily need a car.
If you're a foodie, that's the place to be.
Oh yeah, a lot of the fantastic restaurants,
open air markets.
It's terrific.
Live music. So that's it's a different vibe down there, right? And then you have the Golden Zone, which is kind of more the touristy area. Lots of action.
Golden Zone, Malecon. That's more like Miami, right? It's super active. Some music and clubs and. Very different. It's very popular with the nationals. And then you have places like El Cid, like the golf course areas. El Cid, Estrella del Mar.
We're a little bit more reclusive. And then you've got the marina area for people who maybe like boats, and then the Cerritos for the pristine beaches. So it just really depends. There's so many cool areas here.
There's something for everyone.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. Are there still good values to be had in Mazatlan, given the action that's been going on there and the
there's always a deal to be made. There's always a
Mhm.
value there, and if you put it in perspective to some of the other places like Puerto Vallarta, Cancun, it's a huge difference in pricing. Um, I don't know. I'm seeing neighborhoods that were under recognized now. Like all of a sudden, we're doing tours in these properties, and we're like, wow, it's like twice the square meters.
Mhm.
You've got these beautifully landscaped gardens and
With giant mango trees.
yeah, and areas that we would have passed by before.
Right.
So you have to be creative. You have to look and not be closed-minded. So
Mhm.
and open to different areas.
Yeah. I love what you guys have done with the Mazatlan for rent and the Mazatlan for sale. Do you see a lot of people that come to you that want to rent and then decide whether or not they're going to buy, and you're like one-stop shopping for people like that?
Definitely.
It's a great pipeline.
Yeah, definitely. And that we basically established our business with the rentals first
And management.
and management.
Mhm.
And, that's how we created a lot of our clientele over the years.
Yeah.
And then eventually, they, with the trust that we've had with them, a lot of them have turned into buyers. Absolutely.
Or sellers.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Or sellers.
Yeah.
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 It's terrific.
Yeah,
It's
it's really fantastic because some people, they're not quite sure where they want to be. And if
Right.
you're making an investment, a sizable investment like that, we always suggest that you come and stay for a while.
Mhm.
And our best customers have been coming for years, and now they're at a point in their life where they can afford an investment.
Yeah.
And sometimes they're not ready to be here full time, so they need somebody to look after it, and they
Mhm.
want a way to ensure that it isn't costing them an arm and a leg. So renting the property gives them that security that there's somebody in the property, that things are being maintained, and providing a bit of income as well to ensure that it doesn't cost them anything.
Terrific. So before we get to the lightning round, what do you see as the future of real estate in Mazatlan?
With everything that we're seeing with the baby boomers retiring and the millennials, I really don't see this market slowing down very much.
Right.
Honestly.
Right. I see areas like Stone Island, El Delfine, which are still essentially rural. I see the zoning changing in those spaces, and I see tremendous opportunity in the expansion of that space, as long as it's done with thought and process for the utilities and the infrastructure that's necessary. Those areas, I think, are going to be real gems, and I have some key investors that we've been working with to buy larger pieces of property for that path of progress.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's just those are special places, and if they do it right, it could be fantastic for the destination.
Absolutely.
Okay. Well, now we're at the lightning round of our show. I'm going to ask you questions, and you guys can take turns with your answers.
Okay.
Kristen, you can go first, being the gentleman that I am. Your favorite place to eat in Mazatlan?
Oh, I have so many.
I know. Try to narrow it down a little bit.
But I one of our like probably go-to spots that we go to, and it's nothing fancy, is it's a little tent off the side of the road across from the Soriana called La Bruschettas. And the food there is absolutely fantastic. Every time we go, it's consistent. It's fantastic. It's always packed with people, which is always a great sign.
Bring your own bottle of wine. So that's kind of cool.
That's nice. That's nice. Your favorite place too, Lionne, or you got another one?
I love that place, but I'm a foodie, and Hector's is the best restaurant in Mazatlan.
It definitely is. Yeah.
It's my favorite, and you can get a great cocktail, a great dessert, a great appetizer, a great entree, and it's always consistent.
Yeah.
super
is good.
most important piece to a quality
Yeah.
restaurant is consistency.
Yeah, he's a terrific guy too. I had him on as my guest a week or
I
so
watched the
ago.
show. Yeah,
Oh,
that
did
was
you?
cool. Yeah,
Yeah, he's a good storyteller. He's a
he's
good
a great
storyteller.
storyteller.
Yes, he
Yeah,
is,
I
and a great
enjoyed
chef too. And a great
Yeah.
chef too.
Yeah.
Okay, your favorite bar in Mazatlan?
Oh, well, actually,
I think it's my turn.
yeah. Is it your turn?
It's my turn.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. You know, I helped develop a brewery and have always been in the beverage industry. So when Trace Islas opened up, which is just a little hole in the wall down in Centro, I was super excited. And I don't really go out to bars very often, but I love going to that place because the beer's fresh.
Yes.
And it reminds me of the Pacific Northwest, which has some of the best microbrews in the world.
Mhm.
So I've enjoyed watching them grow up, and now you can get their beers in a lot of the better restaurants.
Oh, that's
I
fantastic.
would say Trace Islas for sure. Yeah.
Oh, that's terrific. I'm glad that it's evolved in that way for them.
Yeah.
I know some of those
They're
guys.
doing well.
Oh, terrific. Okay, your favorite food to eat in Mazatlan?
The seafood. The seafood here, like the shrimp and the
yeah, it's awesome.
ceviches and the.
I would have to say shrimp for sure.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because they're like baby lobsters.
Yeah.
They're fantastic.
You know, when you live in a shrimp village, it has to be shrimp. Yeah.
Yeah.
Your favorite beach in Mazatlan?
Oh, Playa Bruja. Yeah,
I would agree.
when we first started coming here, we would take the umbrellas and the boogie boards and the boys, and we would spend the day there, and they would serve us mango margaritas and coconut shrimp at Mr. Leonzo's. And so without question, that place will always have a special place in our heart.
Oh, nice, nice. Your favorite activity in Mazatlan when people come to visit?
I would say golf. Lionne and I we love to play golf.
Yeah.
So we don't get out as much as we'd like to because we're working, but we at least try to do it at least maybe once or twice a week if we're lucky.
If you're coming to Mazatlan, you should go fishing.
Yeah.
Honestly, it is one of the most prolific water bodies in the world. A place where Jacques Cousteau came and studied here in the Sea of Cortez. Most people think it's Pacific Ocean, but it's the Sea of Cortez. And it is one of the richest water bodies in all of the world. And so the fishing here is fantastic, first class.
It is. It definitely is. Your favorite recent improvement in Mazatlan?
Do you know?
Well, for me, it's what they did in Centro. I love what they did in Centro. The old cobblestones, the lighting. They literally painted every abandoned building down there.
I know. It's so fantastic.
It really, to me, is the heart of Mazatlan, the corazón, if you will, and that architecture and that commitment to keeping it and keeping its look, I think really marks a difference between what other tourist cities in Mexico have or don't have. And I think that history is really important. Yeah.
Well, it's a great mix now of history that they've restored in a really beautiful way, and the music and the energy down there and the food. I mean, it's just.
Well, now they've got that fantastic observatory that they.
Oh yeah! Oh my God!
There, that was a really nice addition. So
yes, yeah.
And we hear that they're putting a zip line.
Oh my goodness!
From the top of the El Faro all the way to the observatory.
Oh
my God!
I think my kids will probably be the first ones to do that.
No. Oh my goodness. I hadn't heard that, but that sounds pretty exciting. Well, this has been fantastic, you guys. I've loved talking to you. Great job. You rocked it. Now I'm going to turn it over to both of you before we end the show for you to say whatever you want.
Okay. Well, if I have any one thing to say, is that we're extremely lucky. We have some of the best clients in the world, guests who have come to visit us who have entrusted us to care for their homes, who have entrusted us to look after their properties, to share their vacation with us, to the people who help us care for them. If there's any one thing I can say is thank you. We really couldn't have done this without you. Your support is one of a kind.
Yeah, I have to agree. Thank you.
Well, that's terrific. I'm going to sign off my Best of Mazatlan show with this. We all have choices in life. Choose love, not hate. Choose positive, not negative. And always remember, the glass is half full. And if you're lucky, it'll be half full of tequila from Las Asuna. Adios, amigos. Stay tuned for an announcement about our next show. And thanks so much for watching.